Welcome to this explainer. I am absolutely thrilled you're hanging out with us today because, well, we're tackling one of the greatest, honestly, most counterintuitive mysteries of high achievement. Think about it. How exactly does someone achieve massive, literally world-changing success? Is it just raw, unadulterated genius, perfect planning? Well, what if I told you that the secret ingredient to creating immense, long-lasting value for the entire world is actually failure? And no, I don't mean just a little bit of failure here and there. I mean constant, relentless, overwhelming failure. Today, we're going to explore the mindsets of a man who famously lost it all, faced totally insurmountable setbacks, and yet completely transformed the modern world as we know it. We are unpacking the extraordinary paradox of Thomas Alva Edison.
Okay, let's dive right into this. I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work. We live in a society that is, let's face it, absolutely obsessed with perfectionism. We are terrified of making a single mistake. But this legendary quote from Edison, it's the ultimate antidote to that modern anxiety. Now, you might look at someone failing 10,000 times and think, okay, there's no way. They are out of their mind to keep going. But Edison didn't see it that way at all. For him, a failure just wasn't a stop sign. It was simply a redirection.
Let's start at the beginning. Section 1. The boy who struggled. You know, it's so easy to look at historical giants and just assume they were born on a pedestal, fully formed and destined for greatness. But Edison's early life was anything but a fairy tale. In fact, he started with immense disadvantages that would have completely derailed most of us. What's really wild is the sheer density of hurdles he faced right out of the gate. Born on February 11, 1847 in Milan, Ohio, young Edison just didn't fit the mold. Literally 3 months into his formal education, he was effectively kicked out of school. His teachers labeled him a slow learner with a short attention span. I mean, think about how devastating that label could be to a kid. But his mom stepped in, taking over his education at home. Because of her, by age 10, he was already diving deep into science books and running his own experiments. But the challenges didn't stop there. At just 12 years old, a brutal bout with scarlet fever caused him to begin losing his hearing. So the absolutely crucial point here is how he reacted to this physical setback. Society viewed his hearing loss as a crippling physical disability, basically a tragic end to a normal life. But Edison executed what I like to call a mental judo flip. He didn't view his deafness as a negative thing at all. Instead, he saw it as an absolute advantage. In his mind, it was a biological superpower. It allowed him to block out external noise, eliminate distractions, and focus entirely on the work right in front of him. This early reframing of a negative into a positive became the total foundation of his entire life's philosophy.
Moving right along to Section 2, the Wizard's Global Empire.
We're pivoting now from the young boy who struggled to the man who quite literally lit up the world. And understanding those early hardships is exactly what makes his eventual success feel completely undeniably earned. Just take a second and absorb that number. Over 1,000. That is the staggering number of inventions and patents credited to Thomas Edison. It's almost impossible to comprehend that sheer volume of output from a single lifetime, right? This wasn't just about coming up with one lucky idea. This represents a relentless, daily grind of hypothesizing, testing, failing, and iterating over decades.
And we aren't just talking about some obscure patents collecting dust in a drawer. His diverse impacts changed the very fabric of how humans live. Yes, he gave us the first practical, commercially viable, and durable light bulb. We all know that. But he also gave us the phonograph for recording voice, the kinetoscope, which basically paved the way for the entire movie industry, and he vastly improved the telegraph system. Beyond inventing, the guy was a business genius. He co-founded General Electric and pioneered the whole concept of mass production. The everyday conveniences you and I enjoy right this second are direct descendants of his tireless work.
Because of this seemingly supernatural output, he earned a pretty legendary nickname, the Wizard of Menlo Park. Menlo Park, New Jersey, was the location of his famous research laboratory. It was the stage where all his magic happened. But, as we've already discussed, it wasn't magic at all. It was a highly specific, repeatable methodology. So, the real question is, how can we borrow some of this Menlo Park magic for our own lives? Which brings us perfectly to Section 3, 4 Mindsets for Success.
And this brilliantly illustrates the core of our explainer today. We're stepping out of historical biography and into actionable strategies you can literally start using the moment this presentation ends. Let's unpack the 4 mindsets for success that transformed Edison from a struggling student into a global icon. Here's the high-level roadmap. 1. Focus on quantity. 2. Challenge beliefs. 3. Redefine failure. And 4. Build on the existing. Notice that these aren't just random disjointed tips. This is a continuous, connected process. It's a systematic engine for turning failure into light. Let's break down exactly how each of these gears turns.
So, mindset 1, focus on quantity and the quality is going to naturally follow. We often think genius is about having the perfect knowledge before taking any action. Well, Edison proves it's actually about consistent execution and relentless volume. If you want a great idea, you've got to generate a lot of ideas. To apply this practically, Edison operated on a really structured timeline. You can totally adapt this by setting small experimental goals for yourself every 10 days and larger milestone goals every 6 months. This keeps the momentum going and forces you to maintain consistent action rather than just sitting around waiting for inspiration to strike.
Now let's look at mindset 2. The modern perfectionist view tells us to play it safe, stick to the established rules, and rely on old assumptions. But Edison's view? Challenge all beliefs. He actively stepped completely out of the box. He absolutely refused to be chained to the way things were supposed to be done. If you want to find new ideas and achieve things others haven't, you have to be willing to break the existing assumptions that are holding everyone else back. And that brings us to mindset 3, which honestly is probably his most powerful mental framework. There is no failure. There are just methods that don't work. When you get slapped in the face by a setback, it is so easy to internalize it, right? But Edison treated mistakes objectively. He treated them as data. He believed that what we consider broken ideas or failed projects are actually vital jigsaw pieces. A piece might not fit the exact puzzle you're working on today, but it might be the perfect piece you need for a massive project in the future. A failure today is literally just missing data for a success tomorrow.
Finally, mindset 4, build on the existing. You do not need to constantly reinvent the wheel. Innovation so often comes from creatively modifying what is already right in front of you. Never feel like you have to start from absolute zero. Take an existing idea and tweak it. Cut a piece out of it. Flip the whole thing upside down. Look for new possibilities by combining older concepts. That is exactly how Edison improved the telegraph and eventually developed the commercial light bulb.
Let's bring it all home with Section 4, redefining your own failures. We've looked at the history, and we've analyzed the mindsets. But honestly, none of this matters unless we actually connect Edison's historical journey directly to your modern life and your daily struggles. So take this to heart. The next time you fail, the next time things fall completely apart and you feel that terrible sting of defeat, do not say it's a dead end. Do not label yourself a failure. Remind yourself that you've simply discovered another method that does not work. You're just gathering data. Even if you're on your 100th attempt and you are totally exhausted, remember Edison. Your 101st try might be the exact answer you've been searching for all along.
I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. As you go back out into your life, your career, and your projects, how will you use your next failure to gather the critical data you need for your ultimate success? Stop fearing the missteps, start collecting the data, and just keep moving forward. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I seriously can't wait to see what you build with your next 10,000 attempts.